Hello, everyone here. Maureen Kwende, your podcast host, learning leader, researcher, speaker, coach, author, and consultant. I'm also the CEO and founder of EMK Learning Solutions, LLC. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. Another exciting episode this week for another empowering episode with our special guest, EJ Leblanc. But before I introduce the guests, I want to take a moment to really extend my appreciation to you all for being a fan of this podcast. I'm so grateful to you. I mean, taking the time every week to listen. I see the downloads, I see the comments, I see you guys sharing it out there. I really appreciate all the love, and this keeps us going, and it means a whole lot to me and other fans. So I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, drum roll, let me introduce our special guest, EJ. Thank you so much, EJ, for honoring our invitation to be on the show. So to get us started, can you introduce yourself? I'm sure our guests, they're dying to know who you are. And so please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you for having me on the show. And thank you for being a forward thinker, willing to listen to new ideas. I really, really appreciate it. Innovation is hard, and but my name is EJ Leblanc, and I am a human learning and performance architect. I've been working in the learning and performance, learning and development industry in one form or fashion for at least since 2010, but I would argue from 2005 to 2010, I was an English teacher. And then before that, I was in the Navy, where one of my primary responsibilities was training and education for my crew and division, specifically in regards to complex systems such as the AMPQR22 and a number of other things. So ever since then, I've been working in a wide variety of industries, such as, I did projects for, working with other companies. I did a project for Disney. I've done work for the Department of Homeland Security, the Air Force, all sorts of different government and private entities. I was very fortunate to work with Dr. Paul Elliott with a couple of projects with Citizens Bank, and so a wide variety of commercial and government entities. So I'm really, really delighted to be here and just share.
That's exciting. You have a very interesting background and a lot of experience in different areas, so versus just the one area. So that brings in so you have so much of multiple talent, I would say. So thank you. And I know, I have shared on this show how I got into learning and development. I know you've mentioned just a little bit, but for me, I got into this field accidentally, where I had the opportunity to become a corporate trainer. And then from there, I got into this field. But if you want to, learn about how I got into L&D, you can check out episode 2 of the show to learn more. And so how about you, EJ? How did you get into L&D? Can you just share with us briefly your journey?
Sure. So back in the Navy, I show up to my first battle station missile and show up to the sonar room, and I wonder where I'm supposed to sit. And these guys said, I said, where do I sit? I said, sit there, nub. Nub means non-useful body. And so anyone that's in the Navy that doesn't have their dolphins or their qualification pin, submarine qualification pin, warfare qualification, they're not able to, they're not considered a useful body until they get that watch standing completed. So I sat down at this station and I'm like, what is this thing? I've never seen it before. And it says, it doesn't matter. Wow. It's useless, like you. And so I said, I looked at the bottom of this thing and it said AMPQR. By golly, I'm going to be the best AMPQR 22 alpha operator ever. And so in addition to regular ship's qualifications, I scoured the ship because no one knew anything about this system. And I found these CD-ROMs and I was able to put them in the computer in the towed array handling space And I'd be like, hey guys, did you know this thing? Shut up, no. And no one was willing to listen. But I took the apprentice, the journeyman, and the master level courses for I went through all three of those courses, and I did that in 3 weeks. And I tried to share all the wonders of what I was learning. But every battle stations I went to, I sat quietly in the corner and kept on getting better and better. And I was determined to be the very best that I could be. And about a year and a half later, one mid-watch, I show up, I've got my dolphins, I'm a fully qualified member of the crew, no longer a non-useful body. And I show up, and there's this it's one weird mid-watch because the lights are on automatically weird, and the screens are all dark. This is a catastrophe. What's going on? And we're blind. The sonar system for the submarine is not working. And so they're complaining about not being able to see, and how they've gone through all the power supplies for that particular unit that was broken. And I look over at my baby, it's working like a champ. So I sat down, put on my headphones, and said, sonar supervisor gains spherical ray demonstrators bearing 314 classified. And hey, I had everyone's attention. And I knew that my baby, the BQR-22, was specifically made as a redundant system for such a eventuality. So I spent the next 24 hours teaching people everything I knew and how to operate. And we were able to stay at sea. We were able to, it was a very big deal for our boat. So that was the thing that I loved about my career in the Navy, was learning a complex system and teaching it to other people in a moment of need. And ever since then, that's the thing that I loved. I said, well, what do I love to do? I don't want to like be a technician per se. What else is there? What do I need to do? And if I would have known about instructional system design, I would have gravitated immediately towards that. Like, what, you get to make these e-learning CD-ROMs? Sign me up. But the thing that I loved was reading, thinking, and teaching, and writing. I loved writing. I still do. And so I said, hey, let me go ahead and be an English teacher. And so I did that. And specifically, the environment that I taught in focused a lot on rote memorization and a lot of other things that I thought were anathema to what it means to be actually educated, to have the ability to read, write, and think. And so I felt like my job was to be a culture changer. And specifically to go after that, I went after my master's in instructional system design at the University of South Alabama, and failed miserably in my efforts to change the culture in that environment. The final straw was whenever people were insulting each other with Elizabethan English in the hallway. And when my kids were, and they banned Romeo and Juliet. And I said, you mean to tell me that my kids were out using Elizabethan language that I taught them, and they were using it in real life? They said, yes, and we're banning Romeo and Juliet. I said, I'm not coming back next year. And very fortunately, at that exact time, I was able to go work, providentially, I was able to go work literally across the street with the Coast Guard base. I'm skipping a few steps here. But I was able to go work with the Coast Guard. I was able to work for the Department of Homeland Security. I was able to, both as at the Center for Domestic Preparedness and at the Aviation Training Center in Mobile, Alabama. And I never looked back. I've always been helping various customers learn how to, I always loved projects where I'm able to understand a complex system and then teach other people in a moment of need.
Wow, that's an incredible journey. And you've mentioned a few things here, being interested in being a culture changer and now working with different organizations, trying to make an impact. And then I've also, I understand I have that experience where you're trying to change all these things and it doesn't happen. Like, what do? You just have to move on and see where, you can work with other organizations that can embrace that, because it depends on the culture, right? So I know you've experienced that. And you also mentioned something that was interesting, that you're a great writer. And I've seen like your blogs and I've seen your articles that you write for the Chief Learning Officer magazine. That's very interesting. So anyone who wants to check you out, yeah, I can attest to that you're a great writer. So
I
thank you.
really
Thank
appreciate
you.
I really, really appreciate your affirmation. Lately, I've been trying to find my voice, and I need that feedback. So thank you.
Yeah, it's great. So now, when I know about your journey and I know how far you've come, and by the way, EJ and I have a lot in common, where we're not just, L&D consultants, but we both obtain our Chief Learning Officer executive certification from just Judge Mason's business school. So that's very exciting. We can talk about that all day, but that's not the purpose of this podcast. So I know, like we've talked about, what's the focus of today's podcast, about the intersectionality of learning and development and DevOps. Like, I know what it is, but I'm sure our listeners would be, what is that? What is DevOps? So do you want to just share some information about that?
Sure. DevOps, according to Donovan Brown, Microsoft Partner Program Manager, he says that DevOps is the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. I'll say that again: the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. And so out of all of those, which is the most important? Is it process? Is it the products? Or is it the people? And Donovan says, out of all of the most difficult is certainly people. You've got to underline that. You've got to put it in red. You've got to boldface that, because that is where it will get you every time. And so DevOps is not just about the process and the products. It's not just about, DevOps is short for software development and IT operations. And most people think that it's about the technology, and it's really not. It's about how the people, the process, and the products work together to enable continuous delivery of our value to our end users. And much like, today, there's still 17% of the world that doesn't have electricity. So we take that for granted. But there's still not, whenever you have a revelation or this industry changing, world changing event, it doesn't immediately affect everything. It starts to cycle out. It starts to, like ripples in a pond, right? And in the same way, those waves that are being generated by DevOps are going to affect communications professionals and learning professionals. And that's why I feel like it's really important that we start talking about that as soon as possible.
That's exciting. Many years ago, I worked for a government agency, and my role was more like a Scrum Master, where I used to, everything was about Agile, Scrum, working with a team of developers. And I recall the collaboration across the various teams, how it happened. And I can see how people can function in silos in this area. So thinking about what you just shared, I call it DevOps and you call it DevOps. I'm probably saying it the other way around. But thinking about what you just shared about DevOps, I see how it can benefit our system and how we can leverage it in learning and development. So, and it also going to help, break down silos and enhance collaboration. Those are some of the benefits I'm thinking that it can even impact our world. So what do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. And that's the main crux of the issue, is that if we focus on what DevOps will do in terms of automation, it's going to break down silos across an organization's value stream. And so the three ways of DevOps are flow, a profound understanding of how work flows through a system, feedback, how from the end customer all the way to the original supplier, getting feedback all the way through that value stream. And then through that feedback, you're giving psychological safety. You're giving people the ability to be themselves. You're giving people the ability to express their needs in a vulnerable way. And then through that, you're able to create the third way, which is a culture of experimentation and learning. And so we think, oh, well, we're learning professionals. Well, it shifts completely. This is learning like Peter Senge talks about in the fifth discipline. It's learning not by sage from the stage, dropping didactic knowledge bombs through PowerPoint. In fact, learning professionals in the future, and should be now, it's happening now. It's just, again, the ripples in the pond haven't spread out yet. We're no longer the sages from the stage dropping didactic knowledge bombs through PowerPoint. We don't capture the source of truth. Our job as learning professionals will be to certify job competency, that they're able to perform the accomplishments that deliver value to the business. To quote David Marquet, we don't brief, we certify. And so, well, what is that? Who's capturing the technical documentation? Who's capturing the source of truth? Well, that's what communications professionals do. And so they, across the value stream, partner with each one of the work silos, capture that voice of management, capture the voice of the customer, and then promote that through the value stream to the point that when a systems engineer updates what their system is, it it could be a car, it could be a submarine imaging system, it could be whatever it is. The second that the systems engineer updates that system, all of the models that are affected by that, both the 3D models and the data models, right? The enterprise architecture models or frameworks that's referred to in model-based systems engineering, that source of truth gets updated. And all of the parties that have a hand in that, they're automatically updated. And so I show up to work one day, and yesterday this critical system was updated, and I am okay with that because my job isn't to wonder about exactly all of the didactic declarative knowledge instances. That's automatically communicated and captured by the source, by the communications professionals. My job is to make sure that people are able to apply, that they're able to transfer, that they're able to, in the moment of need, perform that task. And whatever that particular situation calls for, is it by using augmented reality glasses? Is it by asking everyone to don their goggles and actually go through the experience of building the learning, building the actual system, or using the actual system in an operational manner, in an operational context? We could do things that we weren't able to do before. We're able to actually assess psychomotor skills in an automated way using augmented reality and virtual reality technologies. This is something that was not possible even 10 years ago. So our role as learning professionals is going to go back to our roots to make sure that people are certifying job accomplishment. And this is really what it should have, as to quote Conrad Gottfredson and Mosher, Bob Mosher, it should have always been about apply. It should have always been about how do we get our learners to be able to apply these things. And automation technologies not only help us to do that, but they actually help us to figure out, like there's this tool right now called ADDIE. And once you get that framework installed, you're able to know within moments, literally moments, how your business is doing, how what your constraints to the value stream are, and you're able to hone in on who needs that specific training and learning intervention, who needs that who needs that performance checklist. Do we need to create this massive training course to teach everyone in the whole industry, or can we focus in on just the people that actually need that particular learning and performance intervention? We are able to have that data in nearly real time now. That by itself is revolutionary, but it's the heart of why I feel like we should be having what the CALDO framework hopes to achieve is to be able to break down those silos in such a way that we could all communicate and we could all learn and find that third way of DevOps, to have that culture of experimentation and learning.
Wow. I definitely agree that from an L&D perspective, right, if we're focusing more on application, performance, being able to help our learners transfer knowledge, apply them, encourage collaboration and break down silos, it's going to be even a more fulfilling experience for them and impact the business in a positive way. So I would really want to hear more about the CALDO framework that you just mentioned, and how do you think we can really benefit? How else do you think we can benefit from it in our field?
So I feel like the biggest thing that we could benefit from is just by knowing what each other's needs are.
Mm-hmm.
Because if those are being captured and communicated, then we as learning professionals, whenever we build a learning intervention, whatever that is, be it the e-learning course, we're going to know at the start
Mm-hmm.
what we're trying to achieve is, and then we're going to know automatically the analysis and evaluation portions will be uh, uh, doable. Like right now, less than 5% of organizations determine actually use, Jack and Patty Phillips ROI
Mm-hmm.
model. It's super difficult if you don't have the infrastructure in place to be able to show that you're actually delivering value in a scientific manner,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and show causality, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and so if you're able to get to that, if you're able to deliver not only results, but also provide the return on investment and see that in real time, uh, that makes some people nervous because they're no longer going to be able to hide, right? But anyone that's actually wanting to deliver value to, which is our job, uh, uh, is rejoicing. And I feel like that's the thing. Right now, most learning and performance professionals are fleas at the tail of the dog at the value stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're way at the very end of the process.
Yeah.
This DevOps provides learning and human learning and performance professionals and communications professionals the time to be invaluable business partners all the way across
Yes.
the value stream. We will help the organization achieve its mission, and we will be able to demonstrate that empirically, time and time again, and
Mm-hmm.
in a faithful relationship. Uh, uh, so I think that that's the biggest thing.
I think, many times when people are looking at their budgets and they're always thinking L&D is, doesn't add value. And then they're always like the first people that they're thinking of, cutting off or outsourcing or whatever. But once we're able to really show the numbers that we're really adding value, we're contributing to the business outcomes. This is just going to really put us forward. And that's how I see L&D, the future of L&D, how we're even more impactful, how we're even more relevant, even our decision-making process and everything. So looking at it from this perspective, applying the CALDO framework and looking at how we can embrace DevOps, because some people might be thinking, oh, it's just an IT thing, but it's really not. The way you've explained it is something that we can really explore and improve on what we currently do. And hopefully in the near future, we would be speaking this language of collaboration, the language of performance improvement in mind, not just creating stuff, but how can we improve what currently exists? How can we break down silos? How can we make an impact in the organization such that they can see what we're adding as value to them? So
Concur.
this is very, very exciting. I'm glad, at what you're working on, and it's really exciting. And so I want to, ask if someone would like to, connect with you because you're really adding value to our community, writing, all those things that you're doing. How can our listeners find you to explore more about this interesting topic?
Um, well, I think first and foremost, please sign up at caldo.academy. Go to
Mhm.
caldo.academy and sign up on the email list. I'm working on a course, a couple of courses that teach people about this framework,
Okay.
specifically on how human learning and performance professionals and communications professionals can thrive in the era of DevOps. Also, please let me know your thoughts. If you have particular problems, or if you would like to solve a particular business problem in your particular context using the CALDO framework, give me a call. Send out a tweet to me at EJ Leblanc, and you could also reach me at ej@ejleblanc.com as an email address. I really appreciate the opportunity to get this information out there, Maureen. Thank you.
That's awesome. I feel like talking to you all day, and I always enjoy our conversations, and I enjoy this one. And I believe so have our listeners. But, we've come to the end of the podcast, and I would like you to wrap us up, as we always wrap up our podcast with our signature question: what does empowerment mean to you? So if I'm speaking to a leadership coach or a consultant or an L&D professional, I'll ask that question. So then I want to ask you, what does empowerment mean to you as an L&D and, DevOps consultant?
Thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to find my voice. And Stephen Covey, he talks about the 7 habits of highly effective people. And he says in a follow-up book, there's the 8th habit, where you go from just being effective or highly effective to being great. And he says that the 8th habit is to find your voice and then help others find theirs. And so I feel like what I would like to do is to have my voice and find my voice and help others to share and find theirs. And I think that if I'm helping others to do that in that exact process, that's empowerment.
That's great. And by you doing that, it's great to empower a compounding effect where, as you're empowering others, they go ahead and empower other people. And that's how we change our world. So that's a beautiful way of wrapping us up today. I want to thank you so much. You do incredible work. And I want to wish you the best of luck in our field and also in your personal and professional life. I'd like to hear more in the future about CALDO framework, how it's working. And to our listeners out there, I hope you've learned a lot today. And I also want to say, just be safe and be well. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much. Thanks, EJ. Thank you all for listening. Thanks. Bye-bye.